So, Steve, tomorrow is our primary election. We've been having 3 weeks of early voting. Tomorrow is primary election day. We have a Senate race that's going on. We have all kinds of races that are happening for constitutional officers, and there is a what I'll call a election night reporting room that is in a location that's commonly referred to as the bunker, that is at a facility somewhere in Metro Atlanta. And that's where all the county reportings of 159 counties report their totals that are then aggregated into the election night results for the entire state of Georgia. And so this has been going on for months, where we on the state election board have requested admittance into the facility to observe election night reporting according to Georgia law and Georgia code.
Hold it. Hang on. Sally, as a member of the Georgia election board, and it's not a huge board, you've already toured the facility and had a walkthrough of the processes and everything. You've already done that, right? You've checked that box. So you're asking to be there live on election night, but you've actually gone with other members of the Georgia election board and reviewed this operation and had a full briefing, ma'am?
No, absolutely not, Steve. And that's part of the problem. We've requested that. We've requested to know who's there, who was there for the aggregation of the votes and the review of the counts and things like that. And we have never been given admittance. No, sir. There are previous board members. There is the chairman of the board, John Verveer, who was there last year, in 2024. He was there. There have been prior members who've been admitted, but now we're not allowed to be there. No. So I have never been in the facility. I don't know what the setup is. I don't know who all is there. It's a complete enigma to me at this point.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. And today we're going to be talking about what's going on in Georgia for these primaries and how Brad Raffensperger has this secret bunker where no one can go in there and look at what's going on with these elections in these primaries. Well, we got some new developments from a court. Guys, stick with us.
We'd appreciate if you'd subscribe, like, and share. It's totally free. It doesn't cost anything, and it's a huge, huge boost to the channel.
All right, guys, in this next video, they're going to be talking more about this new development that came from a court actually ruling, saying pretty much he has to open that up to the Board of Elections. Let's go ahead and check out the video.
Aha! Breaking news.
Emerald.
There's the order.
Yes, breaking news. The order was filed with Shay Alexander, the clerk of the Fulton County Superior Court. It was signed at 11:02 a.m. this morning. I have copies here. Judge Earl Glanville is the Superior Court judge in Fulton County who issued this order. It's a pretty comprehensive order letting us have access. And so I have it here. It is breaking news on your show.
That's amazing. That's great, because as you said in the meeting that we just played the clip from, you think everybody should have access, right? The Democrats, Republicans on the board, everybody, because we want transparency. Now, the person who did have access from the beginning was a man named Aaron Wilson. He's the Raffensperger ally who in 2020 established the Misinformation Election News Board to, honestly harass election integrity advocates. In an email, he said, back dated January 3rd, 2020, we are beginning the development of the misinformation reporting portal with the hope that it could be piloted in the presidential preference primaries. I guess they just thought they were going to get away with it, Sally, right? Because, so far they've gotten away with a lot. Why did Raffensperger, it's so obvious. Why did he think he could even do this?
Actually, I can answer that. It's because other states do the same thing. If you look at Maryland, if you also look at California and a few other states, they don't allow anybody to look at their elections when it comes to election boards in any county. That's just how they have it set up. And what it leads to is fraud in the long run. And the thing is, it's changed now because this court decision, this judge made, where it has to be open for transparency for everybody. Not only that, it's going to have to be that way for elections now on. This is great news for Georgia, and it needed to happen because, in my opinion, Brad Raffensperger, who was actually on the ballot this time, running for that primary for governor of Georgia, he has no business running his own election and making sure that no one can actually see what's going on in that election when it comes to this secret bunker.
Yeah, and I totally agree. There's no way he should have any inside track on his own election going on. But even more importantly, to the psychology of Raffensperger, he's under all this heat. He knows they have all the ballots from 2020, and here's the move he pulls. So the balls on this guy to think that he was gonna get this extra, I guess, tool to control things. I'm so happy that they shut this down. And, more than anyone else, I hope that Raffensperger is held accountable.
That is the question of the day, of the year, of the past 6 years of my life. Emerald, is why does he think he can get away with the things that he's gotten away with? I mean, that is seriously one of the big questions. Is transparency is key in elections, and it should be bipartisan. I will fight for the rights as a member of the state election board. I will fight for the rights of the Democrats, the independents, the libertarians, as much as I will for the Republicans. I mean, clearly I'm a Republican. I mean, you can tell by the sign behind me, I'm a Republican. But it is only fair for our republic if we have equal representation, equal access, and if we have transparency. And to have a Secretary of State that has stood in the way of that, along with his employees. I mean, we have Gabriel Sterling, who is running for Secretary of State at this point, who has been, I guess his COO and a contracted person with the Secretary of State's office, and has clearly had access all this time, but then denying other people access as well. And it's not like this was a situation.
Now, guys, I'm going to give you some good news about the primaries in Georgia that happened yesterday. Brad Raffensperger, he lost his bid to become the Republican nominee for the governor of Georgia. And he also, Gabriel Sterling, lost his bid to be Secretary of State. This is great news because both these guys are rhinos, and both of them are implicated in the 2020 debacle of that election that actually stole Georgia from Donald Trump.
Yeah, if I was either of these guys, I would be really concerned right now, because you know what? It may be a, like death by 1,000 cuts, but it's coming.
Where there has never been an election board member there. I mean, just in 2024, our chairman, John Favre, was there. But it was not done in an equal way for all of us to have the opportunity to do that. And so now, according to this order, we can go. I'm awaiting further instructions on actually the precise location and what credentials will be required to gain entry.
Well, excellent. That's great news for transparency. In other Raffensperger news, he has said something about dropping by elections offices, right? He's the current Secretary of State, but he's also on the ballot because he's running for governor. Isn't that illegal? I mean, I would think that would not be allowed.
That's correct. I mean, I've got the code actually on my screen as we speak, Emerald. It is 21-414, and he is not to be at a polling location unless he is actually casting a ballot. And then it says no person whose name appears on as a candidate on the ballot being voted upon at a primary election, special primary, so on and so forth, shall not return to a polling location. Now, the offices today, we're voting at precincts during the primary, so the offices are not actually polling locations, but they are processing absentee ballots. They are opening absentee ballots and things of that nature. So I'm aware that he's stopping by at least 3 counties today, but it has to be done in a way where he is not in those areas. Now, in Cobb County, that's particularly a concern. We have a brand new election director in Cobb.
There's some states that don't even allow not only the candidate, but also the people that are running their campaign to actually stop at election sites either, whether it be polling places or when it comes to people where they're counting votes. And I think that's the way it needs to be, because it shows impropriety if you're actually allowing one group there and not another. Not only that, there's a lot of shenanigans that could happen if they all get together like that anyway. So I think that he needs to stick within the law. And I'm wondering if he even knows what the law is. Even though he's been the Secretary of State for almost 8 years, I would say there's a good chance he might be ignorant enough. He doesn't even know what the law is when it comes to what he's allowed to do and not allowed to do.
Yeah, this is another example of Raffensperger violating the law to protect his own power, not the power of the state of Georgia or the people of the state of Georgia, but his own power. And this guy is as dirty as they get.
County. And so the last thing, I mean, there's nothing that he can really do there. I don't know what the purpose. I think it's, according to a text I received, it was to look at election day operations or something like that. But considering the fact he's the chief elections officer in the state of Georgia, it's putting an undue burden on these election directors to have to kind of makeshift a way for him to gain entrance when he can't be part of where they're processing ballots and things of that nature. So again, I would direct anyone who questions it to this code section 21.2.414, and they can read for themselves what the requirements are.
Look, I mean, it's putting these election workers in a bad position, right? And clerks, because it's just, if there's any question of impropriety, then they're going to have to answer for it. And it puts them in what is already a hard day. So, it's just kind of par for the course for Raffi, though. I did tweet this today. I asked why the DOJ has yet to issue a warrant for Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger arrest, because I think with what he tried to do with the bunker and then with this, I think there's enough justification. But I said that, not you. I'll clarify that, Sally. Thank you so much for this update. This was huge breaking news. What else should we know about Georgia today? We're watching the polls closely.
Yeah, definitely got to watch the polls closely, Emerald. We have some hotly contested races. We have some excellent candidates. And I would just like to say one thing as far as the bunker goes. My issue is, we have heard for years how it's the cleanest election in Georgia's history, and we have free and fair elections, and we're an example to all the world on how to run elections. Well, if that were truly the case, why did they want this to be such a secret? Why did they want to keep us out? Right. If I have something I'm proud of and I want the world to know, then I would invite people to come in. So that's one clue right there.
Smart lady.
Yeah, isn't that the truth too? If you're proud of something, you advertise it. You don't brag about it, but especially in public office, you advertise what you've done that's good. So it tells you right away that this bunker, this command post, wasn't going to be used for anything good, but to fight against the very people he purports to be on the side of, the Republicans. This guy is literally better than any Democrat in his state at hurting Republican and Republican causes. I do not like Raffensperger at all. I think he has violated the law demonstrably, at least a handful of times in the 2020 election and since. And he needs to be held accountable. Like, if we don't take one of these guys like Raffensperger or Griswold in Colorado, there's one in Michigan, I forget her name offhand, but if we don't hold one of these secretaries of state or high-level offices who have power, we don't hold them accountable, we are going to see more of this bad behavior.
Well, I think his main purpose in this election was to not have oversight, because that's what the election board's supposed to do. They're supposed to oversight the election and oversight, obviously, the Secretary of State, and he's trying to prevent that from happening, which tells you that he had ill intent. And my question is, what would have happened if this would not have went through the court system and no one challenged it, and you wouldn't have had a court decision and you would have had the secret bunker? What if he won his election? Would Gabriel Sterling won his election? I don't know, but I think that's a good question to ask. I think there's a good chance the elections would have went differently, because at that point you would not have had the oversight that you had in the election and in the primary. And now they're going to keep on having this oversight as time goes on. This is great news for Georgia and for election integrity. But guys, we want to know what y'all think about this story. Comment down below and let us know. Don't forget, hit that like button and share this out to everybody.
Thanks for being here.